The Surrealist McCoy.
Welcome to the Surrealist McCoy. I'm your host, Ruffin, and today I'm going to do a tier list, which seen many people do. It's going to be my first one. So we're going to rank the X-Men movies, not including Deadpool and Wolverine, because that just came out and it's an MCU movie. Let's just rank all these other ones that are, we're saying goodbye to the X-Men universe. So first I'm going to give some overall thoughts, just stuff that kind of goes across multiple movies. But I rewatched the Logan, Jean, Cyclops, love triangle stuff. It just kind of sucks. It kind of reminds me of the MJ and the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, where they're portraying these women as like floozies, like they just lead these guys on and then they just cheating or whatever. It's just like, and then they really make Cyclops look like a chump. So it's kind of, it kind of goes. Another thing is, kind of goes without saying that Wolverine is the star of all these things, but I think Magneto is kind of another MVP. Him and Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen, I think they're both just really good. You can always count on them to kind of say some cool line or just do some crazy feat of metal, violence and everything. And it's just like they're always doing cool stuff in every movie. And that kind of leads me to my next thing, which is that these movies are a lot more brutal than I remember. And I think it's like, I feel like Kevin Smith said something where it said The Dark Knight is like one of the most violent movies, but there's not a drop of blood in the whole thing. And these kind of make me think of that too, because it's like they go right up into that line. And I got to believe that they probably went back and forth with the studio a lot on some of these, where it's like, well, if you do this, shoot this guy and stab that guy, but then if there's a little bit of blood, then it's going to be R. So I feel like they did all this crazy stuff. And yeah, that's just one thing I remember. It's just like the stuff with Rogue and yeah, just a lot of cool stuff that it's like, oh, that's PG-13. That's crazy. Yeah, so let me go ahead and get started on the tier list. So first we got the original X-Men. Let's see. Whoops. I forgot how to do it. Do it like this. Okay. So this one, I got my different tiers that Miriam and I introduced on my last video where we watched Deadpool Wolverine. We got Golden Ticket. That's something that you want to own on physical or go to the movies twice. Boom. And then Full Price is kind of great. Good movie. Golden Ticket is great. Full Price is good. So yeah. Rental this kind of includes streaming. Wait for streaming. If you're already paying for something and if it's on there, if it's on HBO, it's like, hey, you can watch. Watch at your own risk is, maybe not so great. Anyways, so the first X-Men came out in 2000, and this was kind of a monumental for comic book movies. When I was a kid, I thought, I was like, Marvel doesn't even make movies. Like, they don't make live action. I kind of was like, oh, Batman is just like the only, DC, and then the Superman movies, those are like really old. So I just thought like, oh, I guess Marvel just doesn't make movies. And then this and Spider-Man came out, and it's like, I didn't even think that would happen, like when I was a little kid. And I know Blade came out before this, but at that time I didn't even know Blade was like a comic book thing. I thought it was just vampire, because back then you had like Underworld and Blade and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, this one's it's a classic. It's a big deal when it came out. And this is just, there's some really gross like body horror stuff in this with the Senator Kelly. He like turning into water and I don't know, something about that is just like, ugh. Yeah, I think the casting of Patrick Stewart can't be really overstated how good that was. I mean, he just brings in the legitimacy of, plays Picard for all those years. And then he's like bringing that sci-fi. He comes from that sci-fi thing, and then he comes into this kind of comic book thing, which is kind of sci-fi. But you just see that guy, and you're like, oh, that's Jean-Luc Picard. So and he obviously looks like Professor X. He's bald and everything. And then Magneto. I always kind of think about Ian McKellen. He got to play these two literary characters. That from like the 50s and 60s that for the first time in live action. That's kind of a good resume. You know what I mean? And I know there was like a Lord of the. This is off topic, but I know there was like a Lord of the Rings that I think they made in Russia or something that was live action, but that don't count. I also want to point out that the guy that plays Toad is also the Ray Park. He played Darth Maul, so he's got a good resume too. Some little nitpicks like Storm. I think she says like 2 words in this whole movie, and then the cringe stuff with Logan and Jean and whatnot. But with all that being said, I'm gonna put it in full price. Fuck, why do I keep doing that? Keep screwing this up. Oh my god, how do you do it? Whatever, let's just put it there. X-Men, full price. Okay, so our next movie is gonna be. See, I ranked all these, and so I want to go in order of how I ranked it, but I think with these things, you kind of go in chronological. So now we got X2. Boom. This one is, I think, the best X-Men movie on the list. Not the best movie, in general, but as far as like showing the plight of the mutants and dealing with, the regular humans and how they get treated by them. And I think Stryker is the perfect villain for that. He kind of encapsulates all the evilness of humanity, and because he's experimenting on these people, and this one actually pairs well with the X-Men Origins because Stryker's kind of a villain in that one too. But yeah, I think he's like the best villain in the whole thing, because it's Brian Cox. I think he kills it, and yeah, just because I think he represents kind of what the overarching theme of this is, that the mutants are kind of cast out and whatever. And I think it's kind of funny the Lady Wolverine, kind of reminiscent of the Lady Terminator in Terminator 3. It's kind of because she's got the kind of business outfit, but then she's just killing everybody. But this one's a little better, the first one as far as Storm. She's got a little more to do. Got her little romance side quest. It's pretty epic at the end. You got Jean sacrificing herself, and I kind of like how she uses Cyclops and Professor X she communicates through them, and it's really epic, and it's crazy that they can build it up in just 2 movies to really make you kind of care about that moment as far as Logan and all that stuff. I like the scene where the school gets invaded, and Logan has to defend all the kids, and he just runs around like, it's a really funny part, but that part is really cool. But yeah, I think this one is it's one of the best ones, and I'm gonna put it in the golden ticket, top tier. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna just type it. Let me see. I'm figuring this out as I go along. There we go. I think 10 is good. Okay. So doing so far, they're doing really good, or really well, I should say. Uh-oh. It's an adverb, not an adjective. They're doing well. Anyway. Okay, so now we got X-Men 3, which is kind of an infamous, drop off in quality. I think it's got kind of those old comic book movies. They kind of had a curse as far as like Spider-Man and X-Men and Blade. The third one drops off on all 3 of those franchises, and it's like, man, if the third one was good, then we'd be talking about this as like one of the great movie trilogies. But I tend to kind of think what could have been, and be more positive or whatever. I do kind of like this movie. It's just fun to watch, you know what I mean? It does, because it does have a lot of the same DNA as like the first two and stuff. I think it's just there's a lot of moving parts with these things, and I don't think it came together. It's just not hitting. And I'm not really. I think character deaths can be a good thing, and they can really make you want to see the villain get at their comeuppance and everything. But I just think because this is all not coming together very well, it's kind of like you're just left going, well, why did they kill Cyclops and why did they kill Professor X? But if this was a great movie and everything was hitting and everything, and the story wasn't so all over the place, then I think we wouldn't complain about those character deaths. Because they kind of feel pointless. It's like, oh, it's just this crappy movie, and they die on top of that, And then, Wolverine's hair is kind of funny in this one. I kind of like the part where Mystique loses her powers, and then Magneto, he just turns on her like that. He shows his true colors. So he doesn't really love her, he doesn't really care about her because now she's human. He's Magneto's racist, man. But that's kind of the thing with these is like, who is the villain of this? And it is it him? Is it Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey? It's kind of just like whatever. And I think sometimes franchises go on and they kind of lose the realistic, gritty vibe and become what I call more of the shiny vibe. And so this one, I'm gonna put in rental. Boom. So yeah, kind of a drop off from the first two, but I still think it's a rental. That's pretty good. And let me see here, because I kind of lost track of what the order was. X-Men 3. Okay, X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's the next one. I saw this in the theater when it came out. And this one has Gambit. I think we were trying to remember the other day if he was in Days of Future Past or whatever. Okay, so he's in, and obviously this is the debut of Deadpool right here. It's just this one's, it's fun to watch. It's got a lot of that weird 2000s kind of weirdness. It's cheesy and I want to shout out to homegirl that's in this. She's in The Walking Dead. She plays Daryl's girlfriend. That's she turned villain and with the my dogs are hungry guy from The Dark Knight. So, and this one kind of got me thinking about Highlander, like how Logan's off here, kind of trying to live this life of seclusion, and then they bring him back in, and all his relationships are doomed, because he's kind of immortal, like kind of like Highlander, and it's like he probably can't find anybody to be with, and it's kind of, this one's fun to watch and everything, and it's got a little bit of nostalgia, but on this recent watch through, I watched all these recently. And this one took me like 3 weeks to watch because I was just like not motivated. And I just think that kind of just tells you everything right there. It's just not, it's not that great. So let's see. I'm going to put this in rental. And I think left to right, these are going to be in order too. So it's not quite as good as X-Men 3. All right, so the next one that came out was X-Men First Class. All right, so this one, I did not see this one when it first came out. I was a little checked out on the X-Men franchise a little bit because, the MCU was really rolling at that time, and I kind of was like, well, that's the real Marvel. This X-Men Marvel, this is like, that's fake Marvel, just because... back then it started to feel like, oh, that was just like its own separate thing. It's, and I kind of just was checked out after those last two, the X-Men 3 and X-Men Origins Wolverine. But anyways, I've seen it a few times now, and I think this one's really great. it's just cool that they're able to do a movie without leaning on Logan, or Wolverine. And he is in it for like 2 seconds, this little cameo. And you got Kevin Bacon as the crazy Nazi guy, and he's like, I think he like loses his accent halfway through the movie, you know what I mean? But I kind of, it's just kind of funny. Like, and it's cool that you got the a character like Emma Frost. It's just cool, like a cool character that from the comics and everything. And she has that power that's like her skin is like a diamond. It's like hard. I actually found out that that comes from when Grant Morrison was writing the comic, and that's when they came up with the concept that a mutant can have like these latent abilities, like a power that can come later in life. There's something where like he wanted to use Colossus, which is the big hard metal skin guy. He couldn't use him for whatever reason, and so he said he wanted that ability, and so Emma Frost was able to gain an ability like that, like Colossus with the hard skin. Anyway, tangent over. But yeah, I like this scene in this movie with the Nazis in the bar. I kind of like to think of like movies sometimes as like a multiverse as far as like what the actors that are in them. Like there's that scene in Inglourious Bastards where Michael Fassbender's not letting these Nazi guys know who he really is, and kind of a similar thing in this scene. But this scene he gets the better of the. So it's almost like he's getting revenge on the Nazis from Inglourious Bastards. I don't know if it's dumb, but I always like to do that. It's like, oh yeah, Kiefer Sutherland and Corey Feldman. They're what's the two that I'm connecting? Oh, Stand By Me and Lost Boys. I always pretend like those are like it's like a prequel. Like Kiefer Sutherland is a vampire. Anyway, that's where my brain goes. You just random. Anyway, so this one, First Class, I'm gonna do full price, but it's not quite as good as the original X-Men, in my opinion, because that one's just a classic. Like it's just so we're going full price, but not quite as good as the original. Okay, so now we got the other. Well, there's 3 solo Wolverine movies. This one, The Wolverine. Okay. Oh yeah, I saw this movie poster. Man, this name is hard. Wolverine Immortal. I wish they would have called it that. Like I guess in English would it be like Immortal Wolverine or something? Yeah, this one it's all right. It's kind of like a mixed bag, I think. It's got elements, that of like that we would see later in Logan, which you'll see much higher on this tier list. But the grittiness, and it's like it starts wrestling with dying. Like he kind of wants to die a little bit, you know what I mean? And so I think this one is better on with the retrospect or the hindsight of Logan. Because you do see, okay, they did build up some of these character things. I mean, it is the same director. I think it's James Mangold. It's kind of like 2 movies at once. It's like it starts off real cool, like he's in World War II and everything like that, and then it's like I feel like the studio probably were like, okay, you can't just make a gritty drama. Like you got to put like a crazy train scene and just like a big CGI monster boss fight at the end. And then it's kind of, like I said, those drama parts are good. It's like you see how sad and lonely he is, and there's a part where like and it's kind of there's another foreshadowing for Logan. It's like he loses his abilities, and so he becomes very, very susceptible to attacks. And it's like normally he can get shot and everything's good, but in this, it's like he gets kind of close to. Excuse me. But yeah, it's good. It's good foreshadowing with that. But like I said, it's just like 2 movies at once, and it's just not. It's not that good, but it's kind of middle of the road though. Like I would watch it again. Like as far as like I don't hate it, but let's put it. And this one's gonna be a rental, and I'm gonna put it behind X-Men Origins Wolverine, just because I don't know. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine is just. It's more fun to watch. It's got more nostalgia, and it's just kind of has more goofiness. You know what I mean? Like this one, it starts getting more serious, but it's just like, yeah, it has that crazy action stuff that kind of brings it down for me. Okay, this next one is a really good one. Days of Future Past. This one, I'm sure a lot of people have this one on the top of their list. For me, I don't know if I like it as much as most people, but this is the most epic sci-fi fantasy one out of the whole thing, because you know you got time travel, which is automatically going to be just crazy plot wise, and you know you got the two worlds coming together. You got the original X-Men cast and the ones that were introduced in First Class, and it's kind of like, on retrospect, it was like kind of soon to do that, I think, because they only had one movie to establish them. But it's the fact that they were able to pull it off and make it feel meaningful and epic, and it did feel like a big crossover thing. So I mean, it's kind of cool that they were able to do that, you know. But it's not quite a crossover, right? Because it's like Logan goes there into the past by himself. You know, not every character gets to interact with each other, and you know, Logan gets to meet everybody, and there is a scene with the two Professor X's, James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart. It's very engaging, you know, that keeps the ball rolling the whole time, and yeah, you know, it's cool. It's like, I think if this one came out now, the Sentinel design would be more accurate, comic accurate. It's just nowadays I feel like they take stuff like that a little more seriously, or you know, they just care a little bit more about that type of stuff now, because they kind of, those Sentinels, and I don't know if it's like that in the comics, but the Sentinels kind of had the Terminator 2 vibe, where their hand can turn into a blade and just do all this stuff. And only nitpick with this one, I don't really love the way they do time travel, because it's like, okay, he just goes back in time and goes on this whole adventure, and then he comes back and he like wakes up in the body of it's like there was this other guy that was in that body, and now he's in the body. And it's like, what if, does he remember both lives? Because there's been some other dude in there for decades, and now all of a sudden his consciousness is uploaded, and he talks to Professor Xavier, and he's like, Professor Xavier's like, oh, I was wondering when you would come back or whatever. It's like, well, what if you have like all these inside jokes and relationships with people? And I don't know, I just think it's weird. Like, I think it's cool how they did it in Flashpoint, which is a comic where the Flash goes into alternate reality and everything, but the longer he spends in that timeline, he starts forgetting his old life. And because I think that's cool. It's like your brain can't hold all that in one brain, you know, two different lives, and two different lives full of all these memories and stuff. So I don't know, that's kind of nitpick, and it really isn't anything. It's just more like, you know, different movies have different time travel rules and stuff. It's just, it's not even a nitpick. It's just like, I like to think about it, you know. But that being said, it's gonna go in full price, but I think it's better than First Class, because yeah, it's a little more epic, got a lot more going on, but definitely a full price, definitely a good movie. So now we got the first Deadpool movie. This came out on Valentine's Day, and I went to go see it alone. But yeah, this one was a big deal for that subgenre of, because it seems like there's a lot of these now, but it's kind of like the hyper violent, hyper gore comedy superhero movie. It's like a subgenre. It's like when they do like, oh, we're blackened, crusted black metal hardcore. It's like it's just like movies, but this is a subgenre that there's a few of them now, like the Suicide Squad, and that James Gunn did. That's very gory, and what do you got? Like Kick-Ass and Super, and there's different ones, but this one is like the one that I think everybody's gonna think of when we look back and look at that type of movie. It's gonna be like, oh, this is the template. This is the best. And I think this is like the number one R-rated movie when it came out, or something, or it's like one of the biggest R-rated movies like ever, like financially. You know, it's, even though it does have a lot of that dirty stuff and violent stuff and all that. It's there is an emotional core to this, and that's all kind of window dressing for the character based stuff, and it is very, you know, touching, and it's like this story of this guy that it's like a love story, and it's also revenge, and it's almost like an epic kind of Shakespeare, I don't know, Greek epic, or I don't know, some kind of thing where they, they changed all the names and dressed it up like a modern thing, but it does feel like kind of a classic archetype type of thing. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what it was, but anyway, I think this is one of the best movies out of the whole franchise, just because of, like I said, all that character stuff. But obviously, the action is amazing, and it is kind of like, the Zack Snyder thing that kind of like 300 when that came out, the whole slow mo, and then go fast and slow mo, like that thing. So it's kind of copying off of that, but it's like, man, this is like, it does it better than that. It does it. This is way better than all that Zack Snyder DC stuff. You know what I mean? So, and then the new Deadpool Wolverine that we just saw in the theater, it kept that going too, the little slow mo action stuff. But yeah, the action is really imaginative, and just great performances and everything. So that's gonna make this a golden ticket. Boom. But I am it's not as good as X2, because like X2 is just like, I was raving about Stryker and all that stuff. I think it's got a little more going on with it than Deadpool. Okay. This is the next one I do not like. This one is I think this is my least favorite. It's kind of like offensive to me. It's like, try to grapple with this. If you go online and look in any kind of comment section, you got people that if you don't like something, it's almost like you're mad about it, or you're angry, you get offended by it. It's like, instead of just, let me just leave it alone because I don't like it. And I did rewatch this, and I think I've seen it like 3 times now. And I don't know, it's not offensive to me, but it's like, this is the one that I'm like, nah. Because I just think, on retrospect, having seen Infinity War and Endgame and the way that Thanos was realized, and I just think I shouldn't say never, but I love practical effects, and that they would make a real thing and real makeup. I love that. But maybe this character should have been like a gigantic CG character, because that's how, I just feel like that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. He is this big hulking character like Thanos and Venom and the Hulk. I think Oscar Isaac, his performance is a little over the top, cheesy, but not in a good way. I just think all that stuff kind of takes away from it. Because if you don't have a good villain, you don't have a good movie, in my opinion. And they tried, but it's like, there's some cool stuff. You get Psylocke in there, and Storm. But those are only really like visual cool things. It's not really, I don't know. I don't have a lot of fun watching this one. So I think you might know where I'm going to put it if it's my least favorite. I'm going to say, watch at your own risk. Boom. Last place. So the next one that came out was Logan. Oh man, look at that poster. That's awesome. It's like an old school that kind of reminds me so this one is kind of like a Western. And this one is regarded as one of the greatest comic book movies ever. And, a lot of mentioned a lot of times in the same conversation as The Dark Knight. And I don't think that's overhyping it. I think, what the heck? I think this is a great kind of comic book Western type of thing. I mean, you could put this alongside No Country for Old Men, stuff like that. Like I don't know, There Will Be Blood. Those kind of movies. That would be a cool movie marathon. You to watch those 3 movies. But I think it's right up there with those. You know, obviously there's a lot of emotional weight to this one, especially if you've seen all the movies that came out before this. You know, he dies at the end, and it's like it hits hard like every time. I've watched this movie a lot. I probably watched it the most out of all these. Yeah, that ending gets me every time when the little girl, I think she calls him Papa or something. I don't know. It's just like hurts your feelings, and and you know, it's not all drama, you know, but that is kind of the focus, I think. But there is a lot of action, and it is very visceral and hard hitting, and you get a white knuckle through a lot of this stuff, especially like Professor X has like I guess I forget if he has like migraines or something, but it's like the whole world like vibrates and it's like, ugh! And Logan is the only one that can move in that situation because he real tough. He real tough. You know, this one's rated R, and I think this was the first rated R. No. Deadpool was rated R, but this one is the first like X-Men that was rated R, and I think it's totally justified. Like I was saying earlier about the violence and the PG-13, it's nice to just they could take the gloves off and say, nah, dude, just mess some people up in this one. And I think it really adds to the intensity of the story and everything. And that's just can't have any. This is kind of a perfect movie to me. I think it's my favorite. No, definitely is my favorite out of all of these. So it's gonna go in the golden ticket above X2 and Wolverine and Deadpool. So boom, snap that in there. Okay. So then let's see, Deadpool 2. Uh-oh, crop. How do I do that? Boom, fix it right up. Cool. Okay, so Deadpool 2. Let me see. So this one, you know, this is a solid one. It's a lot of fun to watch. You know, it's kind of a continuation of the humor and the style and everything from the first one. I just don't think it's quite on the level as the first one. You know, it's very consistent with the action and the comedy and in the fights and all this stuff like that. But I think it's missing a little bit of the heart of the first one. You know, but it's got a lot of cool stuff in here. You know, got Josh Groban. What am I? Josh Brolin. That'd be hilarious if it was Josh Groban. Oh my god. But anyway, Josh Brolin as Cable. He's kind of hilarious. You get this kid. Where's the kid? This guy, I think is hilarious. I know I've looked at other reviews and things, and some people don't like him, but he's got that New Zealand accent, and he's just like, just the stuff that he yells out is just funny to me. I think it's hilarious, and I like this. There's a part where they joke that like, oh, you only got Colossus and whatever her Megasonic Teenage Warhead or whatever. Like, y'all could only afford like 3 X-Men characters. Like, where's the budget for the rest of the ones that people know? And then it's like they show they're all in a meeting or whatever. But yeah, lots of cool stuff. It's just kind of not quite up there, but I will say that it's pretty damn good. And I'm gonna put it. Let's see. It's gonna be a full price. But yeah, I think it's better than Days of Future Past. I think it's just got, you know, Days of Future Past is a little wacky, and so I think this one is a lot more solid. And, you know, it just flies by. You know what I mean? So, but I don't think it's as much of a classic as, you know, the first X-Men. That's just a little bit better. But these are a little off kilter. Okay. So we're getting towards the end now, I think. Right? Let me see. Got 2 more left, and these are not my favorite. Let me see. Oh, yeah. So, you know, like I said, I watched all these leading up to going to see Deadpool Wolverine because I kind of wanted to, you know, just in case they make a bunch of references that you know, would be fresh in my mind. So by the time I got to this one, I was kind of tired. I was like, why are they still making these? You know what I mean? I think I tried to watch it. I think this came out 2019. I tried to watch it back in 2020 or something, and honestly, I think I quit drinking back then, and I think I was still drinking at that point, and I was like, ugh. I couldn't even handle this movie. It was just, but 3 years later, 4 years later, it's still like that. So it wasn't me. It wasn't me being drunk. It's just like, who cares at this point? You know what I mean? It's like Apocalypse, that already felt unnecessary. And then they just kept going. And then that's another thing. These timelines are just not connected at all. Like this is kind of the same thing as Star Wars, where it's like, these have to be different realities because like Mystique dies in this movie. It's like, okay. And it just always felt like kind of unrealistic. That's why I don't really, the little nitpick of Days of Future Past, because it's like, are we really trying to believe that James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart is the same guy, like, or whatever. So, or like that this happened and only a few decades later, they're like so much older or whatever. But yeah, it's just kind of, is this even in the same reality as stuff? And so it just, because of that, it kind of feels like, well, why did Mystique even die? Because the same thing as X-Men 3. It's like, why kill her if the movie sucks? If the movie's good, then it would feel not pointless. But yeah, and what's his name? Professor X kind of gets on my nerves in this movie. And I know that's kind of, it's by design, his character's being a jerk and everything, but I just think like there's a fine line of like doing things to kind of get a rise out of the audience so that we want to wait till the end of the movie to see what's going to happen and everything. But I think you can kind of go over that line and it's just like, I'm just going to turn the movie off, or I'm just going to change the channel. It's kind of a similar thing to like Star Wars, like where Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy. I think there's a certain portion of the audience, we don't want to see certain characters as flawed. And I think Professor X is one of those guys, along with Luke Skywalker, that it's like annoying to see him be this guy. I don't know, but I know that's what they're going for and everything. I just kind of like, well, dang, when's he going to get his stuff together and be like responsible Professor X? You know what I mean? So anyway, he's just kind of, this whole movie's on my nerves. You know what I mean? I just feel like they want you to care about Jean like all of a sudden, and at least in my opinion, I didn't care about Jean like the way they wanted me to, because it's like they built it up at the end of Apocalypse. Oh, she's Phoenix, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just it didn't come together on this one. So this one, I might have to give it a watch at your own risk. But I think it is a little better than Apocalypse, because I just don't like the way they did Apocalypse. He's just this little weirdo guy. So we're gonna put it above Apocalypse, but watch at your own risk. This is not a great movie. And I believe we're down to the last one, which this one doesn't feel connected at all. Hold up. New Mutants. Okay, so this one, it's like I can enjoy things that are supposed to be like young adult or whatever, and I like Cobra Kai and Stranger Things, and I like different things like that, or Harry Potter. So that's not a reason for me to dislike something, but this one is like, when it has that young adult kind of thing like throughout everything, and it just doesn't feel, it's just not for me, and I just was watching this going like, this is made for someone else, not me. I just am not the right age or whatever. It is cool that they have like a more horror centric vibe. Some cool little imagery like that, kind of like a Freddy Krueger, Pennywise kind of thing. And that's cool, but it feels super disconnected from all this other stuff. And the only connection that it has is they show like some little clips of like the little kids from Logan that got, researched on or whatever, or like experimented on. And we're supposed to believe like, okay, this is like a holding place before they go there or something. I don't know. It's just those clips that they played from Logan, they could just not be in this and it wouldn't change the movie. So this could be like a Harry Potter movie or whatever. Like it could be anything. It doesn't feel like it's an X-Men movie necessarily. Yeah, I just don't really, the main character, I almost think they should have made Anya Taylor-Joy the main character And maybe that's like on hindsight because we all think of her as like a main event kind of actor now. But yeah, looking at it now, it's like, man, they should. She's a little more charismatic, and maybe it should have just made the movie about her. Maybe it would have been good. But you got the guy from Stranger Things. He's doing like a weird southern accent or whatever, and yeah, this whole thing just kind of has a straight to streaming TV kind of vibe. It just doesn't really feel like a big important kind of movie. So I'm going to put this one in. Watch at your own risk, but a little bit higher up than Apocalypse because I do like the little horror stuff. Boom. So yeah, my number one is Logan. My last place is X-Men Apocalypse, and you can see all that here. So anyways, that's my tier list, and yeah, maybe if you're watching this and you want to give your own list in the comments or whatever, or if you want to tell me how I'm wrong in the comments, that would be great too. I'd like to have a discussion on that. No, I'm just kidding. This is obviously this is my list, and it's all subjective anyway. So yeah, that's it.